has just announced a series of retaliatory measures, including 25% tariffs on a variety of American goods. Here's the Canadian Finance Minister breaking it down.
US President Donald Trump has followed through on his tariff threats. He has signed an order to levy 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico.
I am announcing Canada will be responding to the US trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
The Canada-U.S. trade war, a battle of tariffs and economic consequences. The long-standing trade partnership between Canada and the United States, one of the most robust economic relationships in the world, has now turned into a heated conflict. The Trump administration's tariffs on Canadian steel and automobiles, coupled with Ottawa's retaliatory measures, have escalated tensions to an unprecedented level. This trade dispute is not just a minor disagreement. It has the potential to reshape the economic landscape of North America. At the heart of this turmoil are major industries, particularly the automotive and energy sectors. As the dispute intensifies, American automotive giants like Tesla, Ford, and GMC face significant challenges in the Canadian market. The repercussions are far-reaching, impacting not just businesses but also workers and consumers on both sides of the border. A long-standing partnership in crisis. Canada and the United States share an 8,800-kilometer border and conduct over $700 billion in annual trade. For decades, their economic ties have been a model of stability and mutual benefit. However, 2025 has marked a turning point. Washington's new tariffs and Canada's forceful retaliation are shaking the foundations of this historically strong partnership. The United States initially imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian imports and a 10% tariff on energy exports, citing national security concerns. The Trump administration justified these measures by linking them to immigration control and prevention of illicit trade. However, economic analysts argue that the real motivation behind these tariffs is protectionism, aimed at bolstering domestic industries. Canada strikes back. In response, Canada swiftly imposed a 25% tariff on 30 billion Canadian dollars worth of U.S. goods on March 4th. The retaliation did not stop there. If the situation remains unchanged, a second round of even harsher tariffs, amounting to a staggering 125 billion Canadian dollars, will be implemented within 3 weeks. These tariffs will target critical sectors, including automotive, energy, oil, electricity, gas, steel, and aluminum. The transition of leadership in Canada has further added to the uncertainty. With Mark Carney taking over as Prime Minister from Justin Trudeau, questions arise about how he will navigate this crisis. In his first public statement, Carney made it clear that Canada would not back down unless the U.S. showed respect for its trade relationship. He emphasized that his approach would be firm yet calculated, avoiding any hasty compromises. The impact on American auto and energy giants. The implications of this trade war for American automotive companies are severe. Tesla, Ford, and GMC are among the major brands that will feel the weight of Canada's tariffs. The Canadian market plays a crucial role in their revenue streams, and additional tariffs will drive up costs, making their products less competitive. Moreover, the interconnected nature of North American supply chains means that disruptions will not be confined to Canada alone. For instance, the Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra, two of GM's most profitable models, are assembled using parts from both sides of the border. Tariffs on these components will lead to higher production costs, which will eventually be passed on to consumers. Beyond the automotive sector, Canada has also retaliated in the energy domain. The province of Ontario has announced a 25% surcharge on electricity supplied to U.S. states. Premier Doug Ford warned that if the U.S. escalates the trade war, he would not hesitate to cut off electricity supply entirely. This move has raised concerns about energy security in several American states that rely on Canadian power. Economic fallout and market reactions. The financial markets have not remained immune to these developments. The Canadian dollar has depreciated, and stock markets have reacted negatively. The S&P/TSX Composite Index fell by 1.5%, while the Bank of Canada issued warnings that prolonged tariff battles could shrink the country's economy by 3% over the next 2 years. A decline in Canadian exports to the U.S. would lead to lower production, job losses, and reduced consumer spending. Canada's retaliation is not limited to tariffs. A strategic campaign has been launched in 12 U.S. states to raise awareness among American voters about the real cost of the trade war. Billboards in key battleground states, such as Florida, Nevada, Georgia, and New Hampshire, highlight how tariffs are affecting American businesses and consumers. This initiative aims to increase pressure on the U.S. government, especially in light of the upcoming elections, a shift towards economic independence. To mitigate the damage, Prime Minister Carney is implementing economic measures to strengthen Canada's resilience. His government has introduced tax deferrals for businesses, a $450 million Canadian dollars support package for small and medium-sized enterprises, and investments in infrastructure projects to reduce reliance on U.S. imports. Additionally, Canada is actively expanding its trade partnerships with Asia-Pacific countries, such as Japan, Australia, and Vietnam, under the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP. What lies ahead? The future of Canada-U.S. trade remains uncertain. Several possibilities could shape the outcome of this dispute. 1. Policy reversals. If economic damage escalates, both governments might reconsider their tariff policies. 2. USMCA renegotiation. The United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, might be revised to address the evolving trade dynamics. 3. Supply chain adjustments. Companies could restructure their supply chains, seeking alternative markets and suppliers to mitigate risks. While trade wars are often framed as battles between governments, their true impact is felt by businesses, workers, and everyday consumers. Canada's retaliatory measures, particularly in the automotive and heavy industry sectors, are increasing pressure on American companies. Meanwhile, Canada's pivot towards domestic production and diversified trade partnerships could help it weather the storm. Will Washington reconsider its stance in light of Canada's firm response? Or are both economies headed for a prolonged period of economic strain? The coming months will be crucial in determining whether cooperation or conflict will define the future of North American trade.